Hey, this is Coach Rick, and welcome to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast, the place where you get straightforward, no-nonsense ideas on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. The Bald Truth Leadership Podcast is brought to you by the Peak Performance Group. I'm your host, Coach Rick Colster, certified executive business coach and a chief coaching officer of the Peak Performance Group, where we help people and organizations align and maximize their potential. Today, I am so excited. I got to tell you, I found this great guest today, and he is an expert in connections, connecting business people. He's a man about town and about the country, even internationally. A successful businessman and the head of the Wallace companies. He's an author, he's a speaker, and most notably, a master connector as the founder of Success North Dallas. His recently released book, Being a Catalyst for Success, The Fulfilling Life of a Servant Leader, has people buzzing. And you know I love servant leadership. People are rocking and rolling, talking about the power of networking. Bill says his greatest skill is connecting the right people for the right reasons at the right time. Today, my honor to welcome my dear friend, Mr. Bill Wallace. Welcome to the Bald Truth, Bill.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you for the great introduction. I hope I can live up to that.
Absolutely. I have no doubt you live up to every one of that. This is a no BS zone here at the Bald Truth. Remember, straightforward, no nonsense, no holds barred, no BS here. Everything I just said about this man is absolutely true. And I love who he is. And I wish I could keep going, to be honest with you folks. There's so much more to build than what I just said. But let's see, where do we start? I'm going to let you start this because this is about you. And I want to know about the statement that I know you by, connecting the right people for the right reasons at the right time. Share with everybody a little bit about that, where it came from and how it served you.
Well, first of all, I've got the greatest job in the world. I get to put two people together, take a step back, and watch the magic happen. And there's no greater pleasure for me to do that than watch two people helping each other. The timing, all the things kind of fall together, and it just became a natural thing. But if you look at what networking really is, networking is when two people meet, boom, 80% chance that both cards are going in the trash, 90% chance that at least one of them is. And I kept seeing this, and I said, so what's the next level of networking? What do we do to change this? Well, the next level of networking I've come up with is net weaving, where Rick, you and I weave our networks together. Exponential growth, because you're now weaving with all of my networks. I'm now weaving with all of your networks. That's how an email list of 5,000 gets out to 250,000.
That's amazing.
See, because
that is so cool.
I have people that weave together with me. So that's the second level of networking. But how do you get there? Well, on that first level, when you meet, you've got to leave a hook. You know, a dear friend of mine, Jeff Hazlett at Success North Dallas, came up with a contest called the 118. The average elevator ride in New York City is 118 seconds. You have 8 seconds to tell somebody who you are and 110 seconds to learn everything you can about them, while leaving at the end just a little hook, something to say, okay, that's fantastic. That's fascinating. I would like to hear more. May I buy you a cup of coffee? Whatever. Or may we talk a little bit more? Or may we get together? Just some little hook. But the hook is about them. It is not about you.
Okay, wait a minute now. I've been on lots of elevators, and I know, Jeff, I have never been on an elevator where it's 118. That's almost 2 minutes. Now,
that's
usually my elevator rides are, 30 seconds or less. What do you do if your elevator only lasts for 30 seconds?
You talk less and listen more.
See, there's great advice right there. And you're right. New York City, they've got all the skyscrapers and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But most people don't live in New York, and most people don't want to live in New York. You and I being here in Texas, and you're a natural born, originally from Texas?
I'm
Native
originally
Texas?
I am a native Dallasite. I was born in Dallas, Texas, a number of years ago, and I'm one of the ones that stayed. And then I got to watch all my friends come back. After they left for greener pastures, and I'd get a phone call about every month, 10 years down the road. Hey, I'm moving back. What's the best place to go, or whatever? And they see the grass is pretty green here in Dallas in North Texas. It's a pretty good place to be. And that's the reason this networking has worked so well. So, you've got that first one where two people meet each other. Give me a reason to save your card. When I look at my card tells a story. This is, even I haven't given a card away in 15 years, even if you've asked me for it, that I don't ask you, may I give you my card? And my card
Really?
has one rounded corner. My card tells a story, which I'll tell you now. Success is what we all aspire to. The interconnecting C's, well, that's how we do it. Connecting the right people for the right reasons at the right time. I give them my card two-handed. They look at it. I look at and I take theirs back. If somebody asks me why the one corner is cut, very simple answer. So you'd ask about it. They start laughing. It starts a whole different conversation. Let your card tell a story. Don't deal your cards. They go in the trash can. But let your card tell a story.
Well, that is interesting in and of itself, Bill, because that's a unique technique and skill. When I started my speaking business, I had a card, and it was a picture of me that, oh gosh, a photographer took me and my girls, and it was me kind of sitting there, and it was just, I made it square because it wouldn't fit in anybody's wallet. They had to put it in their pocket somewhere because they couldn't put it in their wallet because it was a big square card. I go, that's really weird, but it's cool. It was laminated. It was full color picture of me. It was probably one of the best pictures she ever took. Great photographer. I wish I could find her again. I got told this morning I have a face for radio. How about that? And
I'll not comment.
That's what your wingman brothers will do. We had our group this morning, our men's group this morning met, and the kindness that goes through it is just amazing. It's really about guys connecting, the wingman, and you're familiar with the wingman group as well.
Oh yeah.
I used that square card, and people always looked at it and commented on it, and I stopped using it over the course of time because my business evolved, I evolved, and but you're absolutely right. That rounded corner, what differentiates you from all the other cards that you've got? And again, I'm sitting here at my desk, and you want to see some business cards? I got a stack of them sitting here in front of me. So what do we do with that? So what can someone do with all that?
That's a good question. All right, let's go take it just a step back. You used a square card. I did some research on this. Just a matter of comment. 90% of the cards that are not a normal size business card go in the trash because they don't fit. They can't put them. People say they get rid of them. They don't read them. Just a little point that I picked up over the years.
Didn't know that.
Your card needs to be the normal size. It can scan. It can go in. You remember we used to have those little card scanners that we ran them through?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They wouldn't do the square cards and various other things. And when a square card is photographed, taken in a picture, a lot of times the software gets messed up because the software is looking for a normal size card. And
they're reading optical character readers. That's what they used. Yeah.
Just a little comment. And
interesting.
As we talk about that networking, and I've said weaving networks together, what's that third level of networking? That critical third level. First, you have the bump where you want to do something different, where your card is saved. Second, you've taken an interest in them, so you can get to number two, net weaving, where you start weaving your networks together. And then the third level of networking is servant leadership. Servant leadership is simply defined in networking as this. When I meet you, the first thing that's going through my mind is who can I connect Rick to, that Rick can help, that Rick can make a difference to, and that person can also make a difference to Rick. So that's what goes through my mind when I first meet somebody, is where can I place them? What can I do to help them by putting them with the right people for the right reasons at the right time? And that's the servant leadership portion, or the ultimate, in my opinion, of what networking really is.
See, that ties right into what we do here at the Peak Performance Group as well. Is, as you can see, our Emerging Leaders Academy is about creating strong servant leaders, and I believe that's really that's what we're all about, is taking young leaders and creating them. I mean, you and I, we've got a little bit of seasoning on us, right? That's putting it nicely. But these young leaders that are coming up, do they understand the power of networking, net weaving, and becoming a servant leader? And, that's something that I know about you, that I'm curious about, and I know that everyone would love to hear about. Servant leader is serving those around you, is the way I define it. How do we serve the people that we surround ourselves with, rather than them serve us? Biblical principle: Jesus served all of his disciples, and discipline is a part of disciples. And how do you do that? You're really, really big in philanthropy. I know that. I mean, you've been a Rotarian. You've been involved in charity work. I know it's important to you, but why would it be important to other business owners or other leaders to get involved in these charitable causes? What's your thoughts on that?
All right, let me take you back and just take you down a storyline. I want to take you back to 1979, when I was 29 years old. I was arrogant, thought they couldn't do stuff without me. Okay. And I received a letter from Dr. Dale Fuller. And the letter said, "Would you help us build a house?" I took a Sharpie and I wrote a note on it. "If you're crazy enough to ask, I'm crazy enough to say yes," and send it back to him. I get a call. We get together. We go to lunch. And he tells me this story. And I said, "Well, sure." And I was in the lumber business back then. I hadn't retired yet. I said, "Sure, you can't do it. I don't think you can do it without me. I can certainly help." And I got involved because I thought they couldn't do it without me. Valentine's Day of 1981, we opened the Ronald McDonald House of Dallas, 20 of us. 6 months later, I realized that was the most self-serving thing I'd ever done. That was the gas in my tank. And that letter that I received in 1979 changed my life and the course of my life. Because through the Ronald McDonald House, I came very much involved in Dallas philanthropy. Through the Ronald McDonald House, I met my mentor, Herb Kelleher, with a wild idea. Southwest Airlines was coming down to the house and cooking 2 nights a month. And I thought, and this was in 1985. And I thought, we've got Christmas coming up. I wonder if we could get Herb Kelleher to do a PSA, a public service announcement for Ronald McDonald House. Now,
Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Well, time out a second.
All right.
The same Herb Kelleher who founded Southwest Airlines, the third largest airline in the world now? Yes. That same guy?
Yes.
That was your mentor?
That was one of two. My other mentor was Roger Meyer Cadillac, the largest Cadillac dealer in the Southwest at that time. So I had an airline guy and a car guy. How could I go wrong?
That's huge. That's huge. So how does someone connect with someone like that and build that connection? Like, obviously, if they're your mentor, not just a casual acquaintance, that's powerful for business leaders. So how do you do that, build that connection so they go, "Hey, Bill, I want to help you. I want to mentor you." As a 29-year-old arrogant SO gun of a gun.
Right. Exactly. Well, this is how it happens. Because when I sent a note, I talked to the people from Southwest Airlines. I said, "Do you think we could make this happen?" And they said, "Oh, he's crazy busy, but here's his phone number. Why don't you just call him?" And I called him up, and he said, "Yes." He said, "I'm glad you asked." And not only did he cut the PSA, he showed up with his whole camera crew, his whole team, and stayed a half a day at the Ronald McDonald House and had more fun than he had more fun than the kids were having. How did it happen? I asked. How did I get Roger Meyer? I walked into Meyer Cadillac on 635 and I found him and I said, "My aunt, Edna McDaniel, who owns Lakeside Realty, says you're the best salesman she's ever met in her life." And he said, "Really? Edna's your aunt?" I said, "Yes, she is." And he said, "So how can I help you?" Well, I said, "I'm in sales. that point, I'd gone into the insurance business in 1983. And I'd like you to be my mentor. And he looked at me and he started laughing. You're Edna's nephew, all right. You're probably not even going to buy a Cadillac. And I said, no, sir, I'm not. And so I was a ping pong ball between Kelleher and Roger Meyer. Bounce, bounce, bounce. I think they had more fun with me than I can ever imagine. And in March of 1988, sitting in Herb Kelleher's office, he looked at me and he said, Wallace, when you figure out why I should do business with you, come back. Now get out and figure it out.
That's great. And it all came from
that
just asking.
letter. That letter to the house to asking.
And I think that's a powerful lesson for the leaders who are listening, is to say, just ask. Don't be afraid. I think the worst thing that can happen is what? They say no.
What's a no? It's a great opportunity for a yes. At least you know they can make a decision.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And wow, that is make a decision.
Don't give me a maybe. You say maybe to me, I'm gone.
Yeah.
No, I have an opportunity for a yes.
So now, in from Ronald McDonald House, which is, you were a part of bringing it to Dallas, and
yes.
making sure that it's now. And Ronald McDonald House is some great stuff. I actually had a dear friend of mine, and I'm probably going to have him on the podcast sometime in the future. But they lost their baby, and while they were going through that, and the baby was in ICU for like 21 days, something along those lines. He and his wife stayed at a Ronald McDonald House in London, England. Mm-hmm. So it's worldwide. You helped create something here in Dallas that's now a worldwide phenomenon.
I was one of 20 around at the beginning. Yeah, it was a group effort, a team, but we actually opened it debt free. We actually beautiful. Doubled it in size twice, debt free. We actually built a new house with 81 bedrooms a few years back on Herb and Colleen Way is the street it's on, debt free. Okay. And if you look at the house, it has a lighthouse up on top. And the lighthouse is constantly on, and there's a wing of Children's Medical Center that looks at the Ronald McDonald House. So that child can actually look out that window and see where his parents are at any time. And it's a connector that we had no idea how powerful it would be.
That's just something else. And being able to take that and use that and help build it internationally, being a part of that, which leads me to something else that I'm curious about. When you started Success North Dallas, it was, 12, 13 guys getting together to try to connect and help each other's businesses 30 plus years ago now, right?
31 years ago. And when Herb Kelleher told me in March of 1988 to get out and figure it out, yeah, we were talking the next day. But I said, okay, how do we do this? How do I set myself apart from the herd? How do I change the new norm? So I looked at every networking group in North Texas. And I didn't look for what people wanted. I looked for what people did not like. And so in October of 1988, March and October seemed to be my months. In October of 1988, went back to Herb and Roger, and I said, I'm going to start a high-level networking group as a mentor group, informal board of directors, so I can build a core that will set me apart from the herd. And in doing that, I can help set all of the rest of the people apart from the herd. So what I told them then is I said, I found a word, a cute word, sadhana, S-A-D-N-A, a Buddhist word which means it's what troubles people, what people don't like. And I said, I'm going, and it forbids it. So it forbids having things there that people do not like.
Okay.
And so I put a sadhana. I said, I went through all these things. And these are the things people don't like in networking. The first thing they don't like are card pushers. People that walk around with a deck of cards dealing.
Oh, Lord.
But we don't.
I got stories from 17 years of working out in the community. I've got stories of card pushers. Trust me. Oh, goodness.
They go in my right-hand pocket, which goes into the trash can. I never look at the card again.
There's a good one. Right-hand
No,
pocket.
seriously, I had 2 pockets. This is important. This is trash. It's that simple. And
So pay
that's
attention when you
#1.
meet Bill, which pocket your card goes in.
Absolutely. So the first thing was card pushers, pitch bookers, people walking around trying to sell, card pushers, pitch bookers, selling of wares in the room, selling of wares from the lector, charging of guests, which we had to change. And one of my friends says, no coins trade hands in the temple. And I said, I never thought about it like that. And the final thing was women. Back in 1988, women were not wanted in networking. They were not welcome, it seemed. And so I get down and I said, going through all these, and said, women? They said, yes. And I said, except women. And Herb said, you're going to have a problem. And I said, no, I'm going to have a real problem. You said to create transformational change through disruption. Not only are we going to have women, we're going to be 30% plus women at the very beginning. He stood up, he put his hand on his hip, and he said, blank, Wallace, I gave him hot pants and booze, you give them women and networking. And we just started, Roger just was rolling over laughing. I was laughing, but I didn't realize what that statement really meant, the depth of it, until 25 years later. Although I ended up insuring 3 of the 5 founders of NABO, I had women there. Women hadn't had a place to really network. But 25 years later, with the help of a guy named David Hamilton, we had the only lunch we've ever had. Ambridge Hotels paid for the whole thing for 440 people.
Wow.
Ross Perot Sr. welcomed, Boone Pickens hosted. We had the CEOs of Fluor, USAA, 7-Eleven, and BNSF, all in the same dais. We honored Nancy Lieberman. And when I looked out at the audience, one of my proudest moments, that audience was 50% women.
You know, you said something. There was a cool phrase I heard in there, and I love that. I love that you have women in networking because it was unheard of 30 years ago. But you said transformational change through disruption.
Exactly.
And expand on that. That's a great phrase. But how does that work? What does that mean?
Okay. And I don't want to really get political, but I've got a good example. When a new CEO is hired, that man or woman's job is to create transformational change. How is it normally done? He disrupts the norm. What has Donald Trump done in Washington? He's become
he's become a CEO. Norm.
He has created transformational change through disruption. Disruption with China, disruption with Korea, disruption with the norm. And through that, we've had the best, we're in a horrible time right now. Yes, at the time of this, we're doing this podcast with the COVID-19. But the lowest unemployment we've ever had, the highest job growth, the highest GDP, all of these things didn't come from just coming in and being a president. They came in from creating disruption, thus creating transformational change that never would have happened without the disruption.
And that's so right.
CEO.
When we talk about this disruption, having gone in and watching companies change, and as the culture sometimes in an organization becomes unhealthy. When you think about a culture in an organization that's become unhealthy, the reason they bring in a new CEO, and it's generally these days because of the revenue isn't there, because something's going on that's incorrect, that's not working within the organization, whether it's for shareholders, stakeholders, the principals, whatever. They bring in a new CEO, a new leader into the organization. So culture, I think, is important as well. And what's going on, I think, in Washington right now is he's disrupting the old norm, the old culture, and it's no longer the old norm, it's the new norm. Same thing in our businesses today, when we talk about business leaders, is building the right culture in a company. What are some of the ways that you can disrupt and then build a good culture? From your perspective, I'm interested in what your thoughts are.
Well, when I coach a CEO, one of the things that I say to them at the very beginning is if you think about it, the culture of your company, Mr. or Ms. CEO, will be determined by the worst possible behavior you tolerate from any one employee. The worst possible behavior you tolerate from any one
Okay.
employee. And I'll get some pushback on that. And then my response to that is, it only takes one cancer cell to kill you. And that sets it a little bit different, into a different mindset. But culture comes from the top down. Culture comes from sharing. My definition of an entrepreneur, and this also applies as a CEO, is one who has the ability and does share the vision, the depth of it, share the passion, number two, of that vision. Share the vision, share the passion of the vision, and share the ownership, while leaving almost all but not quite of the ego at the door. We still have to have some gas in our tanks. And when I say share the ownership, it's not necessarily the stock ownership. It's engaging your employees to help you write the mission statement, to help you design the healthcare plan, to help you design the 401k, to give them ownership through input, to give them ownership through listening to them, to give them ownership through making them feel a part of the team, a part of the culture. Let them help you build the culture by listening to them and sharing with them, because they're going to have to carry the culture out. So why can't they participate early on? Granted, being led by your vision, being led by your passion, and being led by the fact that you're sharing the ownership with them, thus bringing them into the, quote, inner circle. And I'll tell an entrepreneur, your first people are going to come with you, not because of your great 401k or your great benefits or your great this or your great that. They're going to come to you because of you. And then I build investment teams as well. And when we're looking at taking a position in a company or taking over a company, which is what we're doing right now, out of the Star, we're rolling up 18 AI and tech companies. 95% of what we look at is the management team. 5% is the idea. Because no matter how good the idea, no matter how great it is, how transformational it is, without the right management team, it's going nowhere.
Well, I think right now we've got an opportunity right now, come as we're sheltered in place, and we're recording this during this COVID-19. I've been basically sheltered in place for 30 days or more now, and I'm watching what's going on. It's an opportunity for business owners and for entrepreneurs to rewrite the future. What's that new future going to look like? What are we going to see? And I think that's going to be a critical piece. Is what is the culture going to be moving forward when you have when you've got new paradigms coming in, new ways of doing business? It's really interesting to watch. And you hit it a couple pieces along in your just last piece of your conversation, was the new norm is going to be the right vision. So what's the right vision? What's the right culture that you can now create? We're going to have the opportunity to almost have a clean slate, I think.
Well, let me tell you what my Success North Dallas group, what we did. I have a volunteer group. Our members have started 97 companies, 1,000 jobs, and 7 Ernst & Young Entrepreneurs of the Year have come out of that room. We bring around 180 to 230 people together each and every month. And what we did when we saw this happening, and we canceled our March meeting way ahead of the other people because of some information that we had. And we looked at what were our SAGE goals, what are our big, hairy goals. And one of them was we wanted a website, we wanted partner members, we wanted a number of things. So last week we rolled out a brand new website built from scratch. We changed all of our marketing materials. We've taken this downtime as a time to retool, retrench, and rethink. So I think retool, retrench, and rethink are key right now. I think that we're going to be living in a world of new paradigms. I'm serious. We're going to be living in a world of new paradigms as we come out of this. We did our first virtual meeting ever. And we had 301 people register for it. And
it's interesting because I was on a call last night with Our church, they put a call out to entrepreneurs and small business leaders in the community. And they said for Easter, they usually would have 18,000 people come through. And we do like 5 or 6 services. That's, Easter is the Super Bowl for churches. Right. So he said we probably would have had 18,000 people come through on Easter, Saturday and Sunday when we run all our services. They did them all virtual, 109,000 people. 109,000 people. Almost 8-9 times what they normally would get. So we're able to reach more people with this new paradigm. The Zoom calls that we're using right now just to do our recording is become the new norm, and we're watching it. I've been doing new things, putting out, hey, what are 7 things that business owners need to do right now? I'm working on another one. What's the new norm? What's going to be our new normal? Will tomorrow ever come is kind of my theme behind it. So, because we're all going, when the hell are we starting back?
Tomorrow's here right now. This is tomorrow.
That's right.
This is the land of opportunity. There are so many opportunities out there. There's so, we talk about cash isn't king. Cash is everything right now. It's everything. And in the startup business, cash is not king. Cash is ace, queen, king, joker. It's all of it. It's everything. And we need to think about that. We need to always have as much as we can, whatever cash we can amass, whatever we can move away, not have to pay right now, all of those things we need to think about, because this is truly the land of opportunity. And we're going to see some major, major changes. In philanthropy is hurting right now. It's retooling. But yet there's a group that raised $3 million in 2 weeks. And they're paying out of work restaurant people to work at food banks around Texas.
Yeah, I heard that. I think I heard that on the news.
Yeah, the nonprofit is paying them. Amazing what they're doing. And talking to this gentleman from New York City on a Zoom call last 2 to 3 days ago. He said, how can you raise $3 million in 2 weeks? I said, because we're in Dallas, Texas. He said, what do you mean? I said, this is the greatest home a nonprofit could ever ask for. Our per capita giving is 50x that of New York City to nonprofits.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a phenomenal place.
And I think you and we've actually attended a few events together, and watching just the heart that people have for charities, the charitable hearts that they have. My passion has always been working with our first responders and our soldiers and our Gold Star families. That's one of my passions at Snowball Express. You've got a number that you're involved with, that children's charities, et cetera, that you've been involved with. And I see that over and over in Dallas. I've never seen anything like it. It's unique to, I think, the North Texas area, to be honest with you, that we just give because we are doing so well. And we are well off here, and it's a great community. And as we look at that, some of the things that need to come in play is building leaders out of this, is leaders taking a lead. Because as my passion is young leaders. So we look at this and we say, what are we doing to encourage them to get involved? You and we are already here. Again, we've got some seasoning on us. That's my new one. I'm seasoned.
I'm going to steal that from you because I like it. But the issue is we are so seasoned, we are so stuck in our ways that we're not speaking the language of the market.
Okay.
We have to speak the language of the millennials to get them to listen to us. We have to listen to them first before they will listen to us. And we have started a young executives group in Success North Dallas. And I can't even tell you all the things that they've done the first year. That was one of our 2019 goals. We started, next thing I know, they're calling Craig Hall saying, we're part of Success North Dallas, and Bill Wallace, could we have a meeting in your boardroom?
That's great.
Not only did he say yes, he did a wine tasting for him. Again, it goes back to the ask. It goes back to the ask. Do not, there's 3, some will say 4, but there's 3. the three most important words, the three most powerful words in the English language are please, help, and thank you. Please, help, and thank you are the three
Bam, I think
most
you nailed it.
powerful words in this language. And people don't know how to use them.
You know what, Bill? I think you just nailed it, because one of the things I was going to ask was, what are 3 leadership skills? And you just nailed it. They don't need skills. They just need to know 3 words: please, help, and thank you.
That's correct. And the help goes into the listening. You have to listen to know how to help. You have to listen to know who to ask for help. Yeah. It all goes back. Right now, we are learning a new age, a new saga. It's gonna go down like the iPhone went down. We're learning to communicate differently.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to have to do that to survive. We're going to have to learn how to communicate with our millennials. I'll never forget, I had a mentee. Her name was Xuan Zha, Fanny Zha from China. And one day, this was a number of years ago, she said, we're going to the AT&T store. We're having lunch. And we got to the AT&T store. She said, now, you're going to buy something other than that flip phone, because we don't communicate like you communicate. So I bought my first smartphone, and I named it the Fanny phone. And I literally would show that and tell that story. But if that's not an object lesson in communications, I don't know that there is one. Literally have this 19-year-old, 20-year-old take you to the store and tell you what to buy, so I could communicate with her.
Well, you know, I've got millennial children. I've got children, they're millennials. And I remember my daughter was in college. We would have full conversations by text. And she would get asked, did you talk to your dad? And she would answer, yes. I'm like, what do you mean? No, we wrote to each other, because we're used to writing letters or maybe emails even. But no, this was a full-on conversation. Did you talk with your dad today? And she would go, yeah. Well, I did not hear your voice. That's not talking. And it's changed the dynamics.
When you think about it, we can use this 3 ways to communicate 3 ways. We can talk, we can text, and we can email off of one device.
And if you're really mad, you can throw it at them. Yeah, well, that gets their attention.
That's when we go back to communicating like we do. Not like they do.
Touche, you're absolutely right.
When we were growing up, we'd get the paddle in school.
I know. I had a couple of sneakers thrown my way out of off my mom's foot.
I had a teacher throw at one point a baton in orchestra went through the front of a bass fiddle. This teacher got so mad. I've had erasers thrown at me. You know, we grew up a little differently. When we were young, you know, I never forget my mother would say, or dad on Saturday morning would say, all right, now go play. We'll see you before it gets dark or for dinner, and don't come back. I mean, get out and go play. We were in creek bottoms. We were wherever.
We were all over the place, yeah. I think I lit the woods on fire more than once.
That doesn't happen today.
Yeah,
maybe
you're absolutely right.
Start happening. Maybe we can change some things and do it.
That's awesome.
Going back to the Ronald McDonald House and going back to that letter, I was giving a talk probably 15 years after I received that letter. And in the talk, at the end, Dr. Maura Schreier Fleming asked a question. She said, if you could change one thing in your life, what would it be? And I found myself up in that 7th level of consciousness, where you're up there in one of the orchestra boxes, looking down at yourself on stage, not really knowing what I was saying. I said that I could have received that letter one day, 1 year, 1 lifetime earlier, because it did change my life. And I was open to the change. And through that, I got 20 Rotarians to take on AIDS. At Brian's house, 1 year old. We took on AIDS when it wasn't cool. And I know I had 5 of my friends, 2 wanted to know if I was gay, 3 wanted to know if I was bi, because I was working with those people. But when I got in my car at Frankfurt and the Tollway to drive down to the Ronald McDonald House in Brian's house in Uptown for the first time. I didn't know if I was going to come back with AIDS, HIV positive, or full-blown AIDS. But what I did find out when I got down to that house, and one of those kids, those kids, crawled up in my lap, I realized it wasn't those kids. Those were our kids.
Yeah.
And I embraced them like that. And for 3 or 4 months, we tried to start fundraising. It wasn't working. It wasn't working for that. So I went back to the Rotary Club and I said, okay, guys and gals, we've got to change our focus. It's not about the money. It's about our mouths, because our mouths are what will ensure that income stream. And I said, our goal needs to make Brian's House one of the top 5 placement charities for the Junior League. They said, what? I said, our goal needs to make Brian's House known in the public to the point that they're one of the top placement preferences for the Junior League. And they said, yeah, sure. And I went back to a nonprofit. That nonprofit was Consumer Credit Counseling Services of Greater Dallas, a client of mine. And I told the crusty old guy that ran it, he's no longer with us, and I learned so much from him. I love him, David Dugan. And I said, Mr. Dugan, I need a favor. I need you to write me a $750 check to Brian's House. This charity I told him about, because I need to show, because nonprofits don't give to other nonprofits. I need to show an example. I carried that check around for 2 months. I had to go back and get a new one to deposit it. And I showed it to people. But I had a written example of something that was outside of the norm. I had a written example of the new normal, a nonprofit writing a $750 check to another nonprofit. And we ended up, I think, raising $28,000 the first year. And at the end of our 7th year, we were netting over $200,000.
See, that's disruption right there, Bill. I think that's a good definition of disruption. You disrupted the norm doing that. And that has led to, like you said, Brian's House, Ronald McDonald House, all the things that you've done. So, hey, look, I want to be conscious. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I want to be conscious of your time and be respectful of that. Is there anything that you might want to promote that's going on with Success North Dallas, or any new business or ventures that you want to bring to light for us?
Well, let me do 2 things here. As I said, Success North Dallas did their first ever virtual meeting, and it went pretty well, except my computer bombed at the beginning, but it went pretty well. I'd give it a 7.5 to 8 on a 10 scale for the first thing. But we had a lady from California as our speaker, Jill Loveland. We spoke on staying visible and relevant in troubling times. We're going to start something in 2 weeks on April the 29th. We're going to do the first ever town hall of Success North Dallas on April 29th. The topic will be the perfect storm, navigating through turbulence during disruptive and monumental times of change. Our speaker is Dr. Gerald Turner, who will moderate a panel of 3 key people. Gerald Turner was one of the 18 sequestered at MIT and Johns Hopkins, studying this early on and reporting to the government.
Okay.
He's why I canceled Success North Dallas 10 days before anybody else started canceling events.
Okay.
And in my cancellation, and there's qualifications for membership of Success North Dallas, or be a success in your own eyes. I've got no right to define what success is for you. Honor your commitments. Let's go back to the handshake and be a giver. It's all about our fellow men and women. That's it. And when I did the cancellation, I said, we are a group. Success North Dallas is a group of community-focused leaders. And now it is time for us to lead by canceling our March meeting. And I got a lot of positive results out of that. I probably had 50 thank yous. We wouldn't have missed it, but thank you for doing this, because we don't want, I understand. So on April the 20th, April the 29th, we're going to do the perfect storm. And it's going to be a town hall. There'll be 3 other very high-profile people there that we can't say at this point. And then on May the 20th, we're going to have Daniel Moon of the Sand Moon family, and we're going to go to our regular meeting.
Okay, great. So if someone wants to wants to attend virtually, where should they go? What should they do?
Very simple. Go to successnorthdallas.com. Sign up for our emails because we'll do happy hours as well. Sign up for our emails. When you get the email announcement, just simply register as a guest. We are not charging during these virtual times.
Okay.
It's time to give back. So come and join us. We would love to have you.
I'll make sure that this gets out and gets tagged, and you can have folks in there. So, hey, I just want to thank you for being on, Bill. But I would be remiss. I would be remiss if I did not do what I need to do, is find out a little bit about you. And I've got what I call the Coach Rick Bald Truth questions. And these really dig into you. Yep. Yeah. You want to get real. This is where we get real.
Why did you send those to me first?
Well, you know what? Some days you just got to go with the flow. But I think this is a real testament. It tells who you are. So here's the first question. There are 3 questions. It's inquisitive. Inquiring minds want to know. You're holding a dinner party for 6, yourself included. So you get to invite 5 people. 5 people in all of history, though. You can invite anyone in all of history. The only caveat is you can't invite someone who hasn't been born yet because we don't know who they are. Up to this moment, they can be alive, dead, anyone in all of history. You're having a dinner party. You get to invite 5. Who are they? And why?
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
First, my Lord and Savior. Number 2, Herb Kelleher. Number 3, it'd have to be Greg Hall, thinking in terms of these times. Number 4, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Oh, I love him.
Number 5, Ray Hunt.
Okay. Excellent. Well, you got some really powerful, good people there. That'd be a pretty interesting, who's going to get the first or last word in there?
You know, the names and the people span many, many ages. But I also think they're the type of people, if I issued that invitation, they would be there.
That's awesome. So, okay, second question. Here we go. An article's being written about you after you're gone. We all have an expiration date. We know that. So after you're gone, you've passed on, an article's being written about Bill Wallace. What's the title? Not what's inside of it. What's the headline?
Wallace's footprints walk through here.
Nice. Very nice. And finally, so some of our leaders and our entrepreneurs and the folks that are listening who really are looking at how do I become successful? You built a very successful career, business, and legacy. I'm going to give you this. You've got an amazing legacy, and I'm proud to call you a friend because that's what you do. And you've built this legacy. What do you do each morning to set yourself up for success?
I have a routine. I read several things. One is a thought for the day that my son puts out every day, 365 days a year. It goes to 17 countries. The second one is Jesus is Calling. I read that, which is a daily devotional. And the third thing, I read Jim Dennison's, Dr. Jim Dennison's column, which brings in some news. And then I just have a little quiet time where I think about my day, and I use a principle called 2 chairs. And the 2 chairs are I sit in one chair, and God is in the other, and I'm telling him everything I'm going to do today, not that he doesn't know it, and what I did yesterday, and thanking him. And I literally have a conversation. The book 2 Chairs is by my dear friend Bob Bodine. And I go through this every morning. What I do in the evening is I look at my to-do list, and I do not prioritize, I priority. I have a to-do list. I take one thing out. That is the priority. I do everything I can do on this list the next day that I can do, and then or complete it. I set it aside. Then I pick up another, put it in the priority session. And that's how and I do that the night before, just so I can have a feel on the day. I'm energized when I start my day. I'm usually up at 4:30 to 5:30. 5 is just normal. That's my best time of the day. Mm-hmm. And then I close every day with the way I close every meeting to all those I've been in contact with. And I say out loud, May you do what you love to do with people you love to do it with on purpose. God bless and Godspeed. And that's my gift to all that I've come in contact with, and also my gift to myself.
Well, thank you so much for Bill. Thank you so much for that. And, I love that you cherish concept. In fact, we're working on getting Bob on as a guest here on The Bald Truth. So I'm excited to do that. He and I have been in contact a little bit. And I like you, I've gotten an opportunity to sit and visit with Bob, an amazing guy, and I can't wait to get him on here as well.
May I say, he also wrote probably my favorite book other than the Bible. And I use it and reference it in almost every talk. And it's called The Power of Who.
Yep.
Power of Who. And the premise of that book, and this is a good object lesson, is that you already, those people, that group of people, your who, those 12 people that are going to take you to the next level, they're already in your network. You just don't know who they are. And this is ferreting those people out because they're already there, folks. You've got them right there. Read The Power of Who, and I promise you, it will change the way you grow and the speed of your growth.
Absolutely. Great testimonial. I couldn't agree with you more. I read the same book, and I've read Two Chairs, and I got to tell you, they've done some transformational things for me as well. So, hey, Bill, I thank you so much for being on The Bald Truth today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know you just poured into everyone who's listening. I mean, you just let us have it with a fire hose. I'm hoping we can all write all this stuff down and take all this knowledge in, because it's been a wealth of information for everyone who's listening. And I just want to thank you for that. So thanks for being on. We appreciate you being here, and I hope we get to see you soon.
Thank you, my friend.
You got it. Hey, you've been listening to The Bald Truth with Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group, the company that helps people and organizations reach their potential. If you're looking ways to grow your organization, whether it's sales or strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group coaches can help you grow with our proven business acceleration process. You can call us at 817-748-7425 or visit www.mypotentialplus.com, and we'll connect you with the right coach. Remember, successnorthdallas.com. Sign up for the 29th and May 20th, where Sam Moon's going to be there. It'll be a good one, folks. I guarantee you. This has been Coach Rick, and that's The Bald Truth.